I'm wet, really I'm wet. Hello my friends and welcome to a new video. Nothing says immersion as much as virtual reality, so I really needed to test this out and this is my experience with it. So I've been really dreading a bit this moment to test again the VR. I remember last time with the PSVR1 on a PlayStation 4 with Gran Turismo Sport that I was really not well, and it took only just a few minutes before I experienced some motion sickness. So here we have the PlayStation VR2 on a PlayStation 5, and I will be driving with a Gran Turismo 7. So I just set it up, and well, this is my first trial on a track, and let's see how it goes. Okay. Yeah, oh god, no, oh, the turns are horrible. The turns are horrible. And I couldn't have picked the worst moment to test it. It's bloody hot outside. And that's already no good. I can feel the sweat dripping over my forehead. The first few laps were actually a horrible throwback to the first attempt I did a few years ago, and it was not that easy to focus on anything besides that. The few moments that I was able to focus, I do have to say that I was in awe of the graphics. I frequently use eye tracking in BeamNG to look left and right, but with the VR this is really on another level. You can have 4K displays and see almost every detail in your car, but it still remains a 2D image, and that is the big difference with VR. The feeling that you are just a part of it. It's hard to show the effect in a 2D video and something you just need to experience in person to understand fully. But it's not only the 3D environment that really struck me. Something like the position of the sun and the shadows were also very spectacular and contributed a lot to the immersion of the experience. Visually, it was all very striking and unlike anything I had experienced so far when it comes to simulated driving. I was seriously in awe and could see a lot of possibilities for using it for a scenic drive. But before I can really enjoy it, I have to get over the malaise of motion sickness, and that may be easier said than done. Okay, I have to stick with this. Try to get over the initial feeling. Okay, no, when I make those turns, my stomach hurts. My head, no, it's actually my head doesn't really like it. When I go straight, there's no problem. I just look straight on, and it's good. I can even look a bit to the side, but from the moment that I have to take these corners, oh no, especially to the right, I think is the most disturbing one. I really am sorry that I am moaning so much about the discomfort I am in, but it is really the overwhelming feeling of the first few laps and very hard to ignore and focus on the actual experience of it all. I am really sweating hard at this moment. I can feel the sweat trickling over my forehead. So, onto the VR part itself. I have to say that I'm very amazed at the resolution that I get with the VR2. I tested the VR1 on PlayStation 4, and yeah, there the resolution, it was not that great. And so resolution was not that great, and this one actually I really like it. Of course I don't have a lot of experience. Like I said, only the PSVR1 I tried as a VR goggles, glasses, but it's already pretty good. The thing is also, so I have been driving a couple of laps now, and it's something that you really need to get used to. So the first laps were horrible, but each lap that passes it goes a little bit better. So I'm at this moment, the corners, I don't need to move my head too much, but the corners is going okay. Especially this is nice also, so I have the sun now at my back. I can see it on my steering wheel. Yeah, this is great. This is really great. I think I really needed to add some haptics to this also. I think this that would be a very great addition also. I will have to try it. But I'll keep that for another video. This is just about the VR. I'm sweaty. My lord, I'm sweating like a pig. It's so hot outside, and I have now here the PlayStation 5 running. I have lamps. I have the PC which is running, so temperature here is insane. But still, it's okay. I don't feel particularly bad in the stomach. But I think also the refresh rate, resolution, it all has to do also with this feeling. If it is good enough to fool your brain, I think you're okay. And I think with the PlayStation VR1, that was an issue. That you could still, the resolution was very poor. You could see the blocks really, and your brain it just couldn't manage that it was real, that it was not being fooled enough. I think here with the better refresh rate and the resolution, that it's because of that I don't feel as bad as I did with the original testing. When I looked up some information about the differences, I found out that many users said that their motion sickness was reduced drastically by the PSVR2 in relation to the PSVR1. This has to do with some key features. One of those, as I mentioned, is the resolution. You have 4 times more pixels on the PSVR2, which makes the images more sharp and real. The refresh rate for both is actually the same, which was a bit of a surprise to me. However, because of the more recent hardware, the PSVR2 is much more stable at holding high frame rates. This results in a more smooth experience and less frame drops, which is also important to combat nausea. The eye tracking is also helping out. The PSVR2 focuses on the focal point of your eyes and blurs the rest somewhat, which mimics real-world vision. The PSVR2 uses inside-out tracking, which is also different than the camera-based tracking of the PSVR1. It causes less tracking errors and lag, which is considered a major trigger of motion sickness. While the nausea feeling was still present, it was only a fraction of what I experienced a few years back. What was more of an issue was a dizzying disconnect between my eyes and inner ear, which manifested itself especially in the corners. This is mainly due to the latency. The latency has already been reduced significantly, but still not enough for my brain, it seems. So the first experience with PlayStation VR, you can see my head completely wet. I have like the mark here of the glasses. So it was a very good first experience. I was particularly impressed with the resolution and the refresh rate of the PlayStation VR 2. Of course, I don't have a lot of anchor points with other hardware. So for for the nausea itself, so I don't feel as nauseous that I felt like when I was driving for the first time with the PlayStation VR1. But let's say that I don't have necessarily good feeling either, especially when I go into corners and I move my head a bit too much. I think there my brain is starting to catch up, and I do feel it a bit in my body, that I don't feel well. So perhaps this is just training. I will do some more testing. I will add some haptics to it, perhaps another wheelbase when I have the time, and see what it gives. Would I recommend it to people? From what I have seen at this moment, yes, I could recommend it to people. But yeah, the thing is, it's hot outside. You see my face dripping wet. I mean, it's still, you have this thing on your head, and this could be a bit hindersome for some of you. If I had, at this moment, I would still prefer to have just a screen in front of me with some eye tracking, just because you feel you don't have the constraints of the helmet on your head, and especially with this temperature, it's much more fun to have to don't have the helmet on. But yeah, to be continued. I think it's a very nice experience so far, so I think I will do some more testing soon. So I was a bit anxious about doing this video because my past experience with virtual reality, that wasn't that particularly good, but I have to say that this experiment has been a success. I really look forward in testing it further with the PlayStation, but also perhaps if I have the chance to have some virtual reality on my PC, see what that gives, because of course as a sim tourist I need to use the virtual reality also in BeamNG and Taxi Simulator and the other games. So yeah, I think really it was a success, but this success wouldn't have been here if it wasn't for a man that has been dragging me out of my comfort zone when it comes to virtual reality. So PJ Dobbs, thank you very much. I would also love to read your comments, your experience with virtual reality. Do you have any tips for people with motion sickness? Did you try out triple screens and VR? What do you think? Which one is the best? Do you have any problems with the heat and with the headset on? So stuff like that I would really love to read in the comments. Make it a bit of an information hub for the people that haven't tried VR yet and that want to find out what it is about. Well, that would be all for this moment. Thank you all for watching. I hope you had something from this video. Leave a like if you did. Subscribe if you want to see more videos, and I will see you all next one. Bye bye.